I've been checking you out for a minute just because when I first got, I've caught one of your first tracks and I was like, wow, this girl can sing.
Oh,
And
thanks.
and so I just kept going down, the YouTube rabbit hole and was listening to some of your stuff from even decades ago.
Yeah.
And there was a couple covers that you had done where you're doing like 4-part harmonies and I was like, wow, okay, so even then, and I bet a lot has changed since then, since those videos that I had listened to.
Yeah.
And so, I want to unpack who you are, who Honey Rebar is today, which I understand is a different version
Yeah.
of Honey Rebar from a decade ago. And
Yeah.
so, excited to get to tap into that as well and just talk a little bit about your story, about your artistry, about what fuels you to do what you do. And so, I'll jump right into it with my first question, which is geared towards um, your recent track or one of your recent tracks, right? Here I am
Hmm.
and glorify you, right? Is what it's dubbed. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You
So
got
I
it.
want to talk about that track because it's a really powerful worship anthem. And from what I hear, you're kind of exploring, these themes of surrender and purpose. And obviously there's a lot that you must have been kind of reflecting back on and unpacking, right? That came out in this song. And so I want to talk about what inspired you to write this particular track? And that might kind of sound like a loaded question because I'm sure there's a bunch.
Yeah.
We'll keep chipping away here.
Sure. Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Honestly, I mean, I've been through a lot. I mean, there's not, I mean, unless you're younger and just things are easily handed to you, you usually have been through a lot in life
sure.
to some degree. We've all suffered. And I've been through a fair share of suffering. Not to say that I won't go through more in life, but I think how I dealt with it back then is so much different now. And I can just flat out say that the Lord has saved my life. And that didn't happen until I fully gave myself over to Him in the sense that, like, I was always worried about letting go of my addictions because they gave
Mm,
me so much comfort and I knew
yeah.
them so well. Um, and this song specifically, like, talks, I think the first line is, "You are sufficient in sacrifice, more than enough for me when I'm empty." And
Mhm,
one of the things that I had to learn in recovery when I went to recovery was how to turn to something that benefited my life rather than going to the bottle or going to
mm,
the drug.
mm,
And um, when I found the Lord in recovery, He was the thing that I went to, and worship and singing and leading my church. And that was where I started to find my purpose. So this
mm,
song specifically talks about anything that you're going through, any fears, any worries, any doubts, any anxieties, give them to the Lord and just surrender yourself because
mm,
you were meant to do that. We were put here for a glorious life, yet we've been imprinted by society to live a certain way, to be a certain way,
mm.
and it's really crushed who our souls are. It's
Yeah.
crushed who we are. And first and foremost, I believe we are souls. We aren't people. We are souls in
Mm,
bodies. We're
mhm,
people.
yeah.
But ultimately, if you have that faith, you move on to the next. And that's why it's like, while you're here, give those
Mm,
worries to the Lord. It's not to say you won't have hardship. It's not to
yeah.
say that, like, life won't still beat you down and do the things that it does, but the fact that you're able to, like, walk through it as the truest version of yourself that you possibly can, so that the things that are happening, like, benefit, like, others too,
Mhm,
and it's for the common good of people rather than continuously beating yourself up over something that wasn't even you didn't even need to in the first
for
place.
sure.
Like, ultimately, that's what it's about, just giving yourself over to Him and being yourself and yeah, surrendering to that.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Thank you for elaborating on that. And
Yeah.
one way that I would kind of, describe or what others I've even read have described, some of your music as being kind of this raw honesty into pop music, but obviously you're blending, worship anthems and catchy pop hooks, etc. and that's changed. I mean, even over the course of probably the last 5 years, from what I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Um, so how has that talk to me through that journey of how your music style has kind of changed from when you first started
Mhm.
to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I was like, I grew up listening to pop divas all my life. So Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, all those ladies. And but I was highly influenced at the time that I began writing music by like Ellie Goulding, Jessie J, and like some of these upcoming electronic artists, Zendaya at the time,
Mhm.
all these newer sounds. And so I wanted to kind of bring that into the mix, but also um, be like a voice for women and have that female empowerment thing going, you know?
Mhm.
And I love that. I'm all about female empowerment. I'm about people empowerment, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It doesn't have to be anybody
Mhm.
specific, just everybody. And I think um that's I think my journey of going through recovery and everything has allowed me to actually see what I can do
Mm.
with the music I create. So I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have to just write about things that are popular in society. I don't have to
Right.
just like accommodate to what everybody wants just to make a buck or
Mhm.
sell a tune. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I wanna make music that reflects my journey, and you can hear even because I got sober in 2020, so it's been 4 years now,
Mhm.
and even at the beginning of my
Wow.
recovery, I didn't full on go Christian, I went, more of like a self-love
Mm.
pop kind of
Mhm.
route, and while I'm still on that train, I've
Yeah.
also shifted to bringing in the Holy
Mm.
Spirit because I feel like more people need to know about them
Mm.
and find peace in that and excitement in that and
Mm.
joy in that and be able to turn to that when you're feeling those things. So I don't know. That's where the journey has kind of taken me
Mhm.
but yeah, that's
Was
kind
there
of
a was there like a, aha moment or like a certain particular moment that you realize you're like, "Oh, okay, this is that pivot now. This is what now the shift, right? This is where I'm turning in this
yeah.
direction now."
I think so. I think, I had joined the worship team, and that was about 5 years ago, and that really helped shift me into who I have become, who I am becoming. Worship alone just helps me like relieve something and
Mm.
give glory to where it's due, and it fills me in a way that nothing else does.
Mm.
And I think maybe like year 2 or 3 of that, I started to like identify more with that, and I was like, this music impacts me this much.
Mm.
I want to make music that impacts people this
Yeah.
much,
Mm.
so I can write about this. I can write about him.
Mhm.
And the second that I ended up going back out to Los Angeles to record, I just sat down and was like, I'm ready to like just full on write about the Lord, just write worship music, worship
Mm.
and and it was so easy. Like,
Mm.
I think in 5 days, we popped out, like, 6 songs, and it
Wow.
was, like, written and fully recorded
Oh, the
and
whole thing.
done.
Wow. Mm.
So it was like, that was how did that just come so easily, yet some of these other songs, we had to sit in the studio for, like, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours writing a song, like, trying to just get it out,
Yeah.
but so it's like that said a lot to me, and once that
Mm.
happened, I'm like, "Oh, that's the answer right there. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
make
I
that
think
crossover."
I think it talks to this, what you're making me think of is this arena of when you start to understand who you are and you begin to run in the lane that you're supposed to run in. Like, it's not as difficult to do those things that you're supposed to be doing because you're wired that way. Like, it's what
Yes.
you're wired for.
Yeah.
And so you pumping out 5 tracks fully written, recorded, or 6 in a 5-day stretch. I mean, it's not surprising, and I think that anybody can relate to that in whatever lane they're running in. It's like when you know you're running that lane, you're able to just go.
keep running. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Well, and it's been fun too because, I've been able to explore the genre. It hasn't like
Mm,
each song has kind of its own distinct sound. Like I've got
right.
Here I Am, but then I've got like Be My Vision, which still holds true to that pop
Sure.
electronic sound. And then you've
Uh-huh.
got something that's more everywhere, that's like more motion picture sounding almost.
Mhm.
So it's like they've all kind of got their own little vibes,
Mm.
and it brings something to the table for everybody and every generation. And I think that's the ultimate goal, is just for as many people to hear and be touched by it,
Y
by
yeah.
him
So
ultimately.
so now that you're in this particular spot here, I mean, I know other people that I've talked to even recently, we've talked about the songwriting process that they go through, and a lot of them, you end up at this particular juncture where you're like w needing to decide, "Hey, do I write for what the industry says that needs to be made versus what I need to talk about, or what the story is that's gonna connect with somebody?" Like, how do you approach those topics when it comes to songwriting in particular? I know you're growing in confidence and identity of who you are, and so it makes it a little bit easier to be able to do that when the time comes, but how do you personally, like, approach doing that?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, back before my reform or all of this happened, I did accommodate to what the sound was and
Mhm.
what was upcoming and what I knew was coming out in the year to come, because like I had wind of that. So I'd be
Mhm.
like, "Ooh, I'm trying to attack that too. I want to get on that too."
Yeah.
And I felt like I was like a dog chasing my tail
Mhm.
sometimes. I mean, sometimes it was fun because it felt like it was a challenge to be like, "Oh, okay, like I'm just gonna go in and do this." But sometimes like it didn't fit the like mood that I was in. But
Yeah.
usually, um, I will be honest, most of the things I've ever written about have been based off of what I've been emotionally invested in that time. Like there have been times when I've just sat in the studio and been like, I'm just like, so I'm so over life right now. And then you get
Mm.
a song like Self Preservation. So
Mm.
it's like these songs all are part of my life.
Yeah.
Um, but now what I find so easy about going in and writing is just I reflect a lot. I pray a lot, and he answers my prayers ultimately. Like I
Mhm.
think the first time I flew back out to Los Angeles to record, I woke up the day to go in, and I literally woke up with the next song that I came out with, like, in
Mm.
my head. It was, like, already starting to go there, and I wrote the lyrics down in my head. I was, like, writing the concept down in my head. I was hearing stuff, um and ultimately, I go into the studio and, my producer, Josh Zegan, he has, like, all of these wonderful ideas, and he always, um, emphasizes everything, like,
Mm.
everything that I want to come out, like, and what I'm feeling in my heart, he's like, "I've got it," like, and
Mm.
he just has it right there. And we just build around that, and
Yeah.
it's and he's a believer and he's full of faith, and I think us too, like, having that, like,
Yeah.
it's we're able to quickly um get to the heart of what we're trying to say. I mean, not to say
Mhm.
that it's not that we have been stuck before too, but ultimately it's he kind of provides the answers for us, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
yeah.
And the answers, I think, were even provided in your struggles, that you were walking through and through your addictions and whatnot. And, I appreciate the transparency behind that because there's so many people that are not willing to share that, right? And they're either it's kind of glorified or
Mm,
it's hidden, right? And
mhm.
so it never really gets addressed head on. But I know it's been a big part of your particular walk, and you're into this new season. We're now 4 years, you said, right? That you've been sober. Is that right?
Yep,
4 years. Congrats, by the way. Um,
thanks.
That's awesome. So, how does that, like, continue to play a role in, like, the healing process because it's an ongoing thing, right? And
Mhm,
so, you
mhm.
reflecting back on that, one thing that comes to mind when I'm listening to some of your music is I kinda get the sense of gratitude kind of fuels some of what you're sharing. Am I on with that or off?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool. That's cool. I
Mhm.
wanna talk about a couple of these tracks that'll maybe, like, dig into that a little bit, with
Sure.
Earthquake, for example.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to me about your thought process as you were going through constructing that particular track, if you can remember.
Yeah, whew, I remember I sat down in the studio and, was just like, I wanna write a song um, where I'm explaining that no matter what I go through in life, I will always be a believer. I will always be a faithful person, and, I will stay true to, like, who I've been made to be and who the Lord has made me to be and who the Lord is.
Mhm,
And I mean, I've been through a lot. And like I said at the beginning, as we all have,
mhm,
but I feel like if I've been through the things that I've been through and still come out alive and still have, and not only alive, but loving my life and being and having joy and taking moments to see every moment and like really experience it rather than like have the next thing happen. It's like I've never I never knew life before, like this life before this.
mm,
So I
mhm,
can't not, you know, give thanks for that and then also
sure,
explain that no matter what I go through in life,
mm,
hence earthquakes and battles and all these things, like I'll still be here doing what you made me to do, and that's create music. And if I ever lose my voice, like that's not the only thing I'm here to do. Like I'm
mm,
here for so many other things,
yeah,
and there's not just one purpose for anybody. Like we
right,
all serve like so many, and I don't know, I just believe that that song is ultimately about, staying true to him,
mhm,
because staying true to him means staying true to yourself, and standing firm in that, no matter what comes your way, because the physical is only temporary in my firm belief, and, when you know that and you rest in that, your life just is a lot different of an experience.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt,
Yeah,
and it helps, I think, to have, people along the way that can help you navigate that as well, you know? I think,
100.
your producer, Josh, you said his name was, right?
Yes.
Being one of those guys that like, okay, that's a point person I can go to when I'm needing to drop a track and he understands and he gets you and he's in that space as well. Um, Talk to me about the importance of, people in your life that you surround yourself with that, lead you to the good, the bad, or the ugly, depending on who those people are.
Wow, I will say that, who you surround yourself with is a huge thing. I mean, I've learned that the opposite, number one, of addiction is connection.
Mm,
So we want to stay connected. Like that's why
right.
so many of us were created, and
Mm-hmm.
to connect. And my circle has been fortified through my recovery. Like when I was in addiction, I felt so alone. And fortunately, I did have a few people that really were good people and good friends and there for me, but a lot not so much because I couldn't even be there for myself. But
Mm,
me personally, I met my boyfriend in recovery. We went to the same place and went through the same process, so we have like such a deeper understanding of that whole like aspect of life. And then on top of that, we're both firm believers and are very faithful people. So we walk with the Lord, and I feel like having him as a partner has really helped me grow as so many things, as a friend, as a believer, as an artist, because he's also an artist. So
mm,
that's and music has been a deep connection. So the Lord has opened up so many doors in that respect. And then on top of that, I have a group of girlfriends who I get to meet with every Tuesday, and we're a really good recovery. We're a good support system for one another, and
Mhm.
we're always checking in on each other. And then I've got church, which has been incredible. My church communities, I've got so many like invested friendships in those, and just the communities overall are beautiful, and I feel very safe and I
Mm,
feel, confident yet humble,
mm.
and that I think is, like, a really great way for me to live,
Yeah,
and it feels good to wake up every day, like, saying thank you for the day rather than, "Oh gosh, here we go," you know? So
right.
and, I just want more people to feel that. I want more
Yeah,
people to wake up feeling like, "Ah, sweet. Thank you. This is great. Let's go." You know,
yeah.
and to be like, "I get to see blah, blah, blah today," or, "I get to talk to blah, blah, blah today," you know, and not let any moment go by that's, that's not meant to be wasted, just take every moment, do everything that, you truly feel joy in and,
Mhm.
never hold back. So those are the circle of friends and people and community and what we kind of do. But yeah, and I got three brothers. I can't not mention them. They're awesome, and my mom and dad are a great support system. So we got really close families. So the family
Yeah.
unit is good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking to like not holding back in it with this one, I want to ask you advice for young artists trying to carve out a unique space of their own in the industry, and how tough it can be to do that and then not get lost in the
Mhm.
noise, not get lost in the allure of things that really maybe aren't meant for them.
Yeah.
And I think because we're all after something, and when you don't know what you're after, you'll end up gravitating towards whatever might feel good, look good, smell good, etc. But from your experience of kind of going through what you've gone through as an artist who's been doing this for a while, what would you tell somebody? What kind of wisdom would you impart to somebody that's maybe new to the game, right? And they're out there and they're trying to do their thing.
Yeah. I would. I mean, I would say have a routine and
Mm,
have a daily practice. Have something every day that you can focus on or go to. You know. And for me, that is the Lord.
mm,
Time for prayer and meditation. Time for just gratitude, like whether it's writing it down or going through it, you don't need
mhm,
to, just taking 5 minutes to recenter and be there for yourself and um you know whatever it is that you feel will bring that 5 minutes of peace to your day. I feel like everybody needs to have, and I feel like that allows us to um, stay more concrete in who we are. And I feel truly like that's why I didn't completely lose myself, like
mm,
why I didn't, end up not being here, like being who
mhm.
I am now. And that's, I think, I don't know. I feel like ultimately just have a routine, have something you can focus on,
Yeah.
and like you said, don't let the noise get to you. But again, that's through finding that peace.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like to exercise. That's a big one. But again, it's not like going overboard with something. And I know that um, creating is a big thing too, but don't like let it get so loud that it becomes more important than like who you are either, So
Mm,
going to extremes was always a thing for me. Like I would go to extremes and
mm.
just learning where to like just be like, okay, that's enough. That's good
Yeah.
for you. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
be any more for the industry or more for that person or more for anybody. You just, what it is for you, like stand firm in that and learn to
Yeah.
say no.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Up to this point, you've had some accolades under your belt, right? Like you got some notoriety for viral covers, hot press, etc. But
Yeah.
what's next for you? Besides all that that's already happened here, obviously you're jumping into the lane that you're in right now passionately. I see you passionately doing it, which is phenomenal. It's cool to see that. What's next on deck for you that you can share that you're working on currently?
So I have a new song coming out October 25th, but it
Okay.
actually comes okay, it always says October 25th, but it comes out at like 11 p.m. Central Time
Uh-huh.
on the 24th, and it's called Walk With You, which is funny because we've said like, oh, like walk that journey and walk this.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Walk With You is the name of the song. And this one's gonna be really fun. It's kind of like a feel good before we close out the year.
Mm,
And then I have some projects coming up in 2025. I am working on potentially an EP. That's what I'm flying out in October to go do actually to Los Angeles. So that's going to happen. And then we've got the Grammys coming up.
mm,
First round voting started today for that. So if anybody's a part of the Recording Academy, place
mhm.
those votes for contemporary Christian
Yeah, there
song.
you go. Get your plug.
Yeah. Yeah, right? There's the plug.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so lots of projects coming up, lots of worship, lots of just putting goodness out there ultimately. I just want
Mhm.
people to feel loved on and for that love to go around and for people to feel seen. So that's hopefully the goal for 2025. More of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, thank you for sharing that. I think you're doing that, so props to you
Thank
because I came across it, right? And I was like, "Oh, I gotta talk to this girl," after I was seeing
thank
what you were
you.
doing. Phenomenal
Thank
story, phenomenal background, and kind of what you've gone through, and the willingness to share that and be upfront and connect with people in a way that is authentic and genuine. And I think people appreciate that more and more today in the world that we're living in, so
yeah,
appreciate you
totally.
doing that. But
Thank
honey,
you.
this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining me here. And
Thank you.
we'll have to circle back after you drop that EP that's being worked on, huh?
For sure. Yes, please. We will definitely chat again. This has been
Yeah,
great. You're awesome. Such
awesome.
good energy.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
You got it. Talk to you soon.